Hi, I'm Mike, and you're watching Spiritual Combat. And the title of today's show is Why Black Men Are Choosing White Women. And what you see a lot of times is, professional athletes, a lot of actors, stuff like that, in business and in careers where uh, people have made it to a high level or whatever, moved out the ghetto and all that stuff like that. They end up uh, going with a white girl or something like that, and vice versa. Same thing with black women. They make it to this a certain level, and they end up getting a white man. Now, a lot of black women, when they make it to these high levels of success, a lot of the women are single. Okay, because there's no men, and the statistic is out there showing that majority of black women, successful black women, are single. I forget what the numbers are, but anyway, the fact of the matter is there's a divide between black men and black women, and I'm gonna go into why. I have a unique insider point of view of this because I've actually, I've been out there, I've experienced this. I've had friends who swore by it that they would never mess with black women, and they were brothers, as a group of them, and I hung with them for a short time, and we're gonna get into all this, and I think you'll understand exactly where I'm coming from when we get to by the time we get to the end of this. Uh, so let's get into the number one reason why we have this big disparity. Okay, um, the big reason is roles. Okay, the big problem with us is we're not in our proper roles. The men are not leaders. We don't. Majority of men don't have self control, particularly over lust, and that's the big area. Okay, and because they don't have that lust and they're controlled by sexual desires and stuff like that, they can't be good leaders. Okay, and that's a big thing. Okay, with the women, the big problem there is they try to be leaders. They're out of their role. They're not submissive. They're not submitted. There's a reason for that because the men have failed. These women have been let down. What is it? One out of two black women have, they say by the time they're 18, they've been raped or molested, That's a big thing. And men have dropped the ball. And as like I say, anytime I'm bringing these points out, at the end of the day, it always lies with the man. The men, this thing is not going to change until the men step up. Now, I'm not giving the women a free pass. They have to get their minds right and get themselves lined up too. Okay. But at the end of the day, the men have to become leaders and get themselves under control. Okay. So anyway, but that's the number one reason. Like I said, I used to hang with a bunch of guys, and the whole thing with their group was, hey, we be running through white girls, this, that, and other. And no matter how good a black woman looked, they're like, oh, I'll never mess with them. They almost had like a hate, and it's because they had been in relationships with the wrong black woman, and it was just a constant power struggle, a fight. And it was just a mess. Okay, so that was, and I've seen it, I've experienced it. Before I got married and met my wife, I was getting frustrated with the dating scene and dealing with black women and dealing with the attitude as soon as you talk to them. And at the time, I didn't know what it was, and I hated it. And I was like, dang, I walk up and talk to the white girls, and they laughing and joking with me. And I walk up to the black girls, and they're like, whatever, and all that stuff like that. And the thing that caught me with my wife, and my wife's black, the thing that caught me with her is when I walked up and approached her and talked to her, she smiled and was very nice. And, easy to talk to. She didn't make it difficult, you know. But like I'm gonna get into in this show, I used to hate them for that, for having that attitude, but now I understand why it's there. Because they've been hurt and let down by these soft black dudes who just have no self-control over themselves. And they've just been let down by black men, a lack of strong black men, okay? And one of the things I'm going to get into in this show is how to spot the right woman, and for women, how to spot the right man. Because majority of these dudes are not relationship material, okay? There's no way it'll work. So it doesn't shock me why the relationships are the way they are. Most of these dudes are just nightmares to be around, okay? I know how lust-filled they are and how controlled they are by lust, and some of these dudes are hopeless. And I'm like, man, she talking to him. Whew, I could count on my watch how long that relationship's gonna work out, you know. So, but that's one of the big reason is the men aren't real men. They're not in a biblical masculine role of what the Bible says, and your church doesn't teach what a man's supposed to be. Okay, I'm gonna do a whole bunch more videos on how to spot a real man that the relationship will go easy. Okay. Same thing. The men don't like the women, the black women, because they are strong-willed. It's a constant power struggle. They don't know how to be submissive. Okay. So that, and a lot of these men are good men, but the women don't know how to submit to that authority. Same thing. A lot of these women, they go to college, they get in that, they get in the professional career and all that stuff like that, and they don't know how to submit to a man, and they get brainwashed by this culture, by the media and all that stuff like that. They get brainwashed into thinking that, hey, we equal this, that, and the other. But no, you got a biblical role. And what you find, all the other nations, the Chinese, the Jews, the whites, white folks, Middle Eastern people, everybody else, no matter what the media says on the surface, their wives are submitted to the men. We are the only race, us, the Native Americans and the Hispanics, we're the only races where our women don't respect us, particularly the black race, and it's what you're gonna find is by design. Okay, it's by design. But anyway, I don't want to go too far off into that. So what we got, the first reason is, like I said, and the biggest reason is, a lot of attitude coming from the women. And when a woman gets successful, the man isn't a real man. He don't got control over his lust. He's not a leader. So you get a woman who's successful. She wants something good. She knows, what she's looking for. But majority of the black men are not leaders. They don't got their lust under control. So they talk to a white man, or they stay single, and vice versa with the black man, for that reason. So that's a big reason. And then with the other thing that happens, like I said, the media is just poisoning us. And it's like whether black women consciously, whether black women consciously admit it or not, they're being brainwashed by the media into thinking that they have to look like white women. Okay, and you really see that. And when you ask them about it, oh no, I'm not trying to look white. I just think this is nice or whatever. And they honestly mean it, but they don't realize they're being brainwashed. And you gotta study up on brainwashing and humble yourself to realize when you're being brainwashed. And likewise, our men. There's a lot of brothers who, I ain't messing with no. Like this one brother said, the sister went natural with her hair and took her weave out and all that. And the brother said, if you don't fix your hair, I ain't taking you around like that. If you don't fix your hair, this relationship over. Look, that's a perfect, like, a good way to weed out the dudes you don't want to mess with is leave your hair natural. That's a good way to weed out the phony dudes. Okay, I promise, and you could take that to the bank. So let's get into this. Like I said, a lot of our women now are trying to look white. Okay, you just see it everywhere. Okay, and where are they getting it from? You know, they're getting it from the media. That's all you see. You know, when you let me make this bigger. When you watch TV, that's all you don't see any natural sisters. I mean, when I look at Beyonce, sometimes a picture will pop up of Beyonce, and I just because I don't follow, I don't listen to too much secular music at all. So I'll just see a quick picture of her, and or a makeup commercial or something, and I'm like, oh, that's a white girl, and I gotta do a double or sometimes a triple take to be like, oh no, that's Beyonce. Dang, she looking white. It's like, why are we envying our oppressors? It's like we gotta get our pride back, but you gotta understand that's all we're being fed. You know, we're constantly getting these images put in our head of white people. We never see any images on TV of natural black women or of dark-skinned natural black women. It's rare that you see it now. Even I had to get pictures for this show that I did of natural black women. Okay, and you know, weren't even that much. It was amazing. Like you go to Google Images and type in natural black women hair or whatever, and normally when you type in something for a picture on Google and go to their images, it's just you can keep scrolling down. No, this stopped quick. What you're gonna find is there is watch my videos and watch other videos that's out, because a video just came out. It's called 13th. It's on Netflix. It's called 13th, meaning the 13th Amendment, and that's what it's talking about. How slavery is still going on. We're still being oppressed, but in a covert way, and they're keeping us. The reason why nobody sees it is because we're hypnotized by the media and by Beyonce shaking her butt and all this other crap they put in front of us, and you don't see the big picture of what they're really doing to destroy us. Okay, but I don't want to get off too far, but our women are being brainwashed, and the thing of brainwashing is getting you to do something without you knowing it. So that's why you ask our women, well, why are you straightening your hair? Oh, because my hair's, it's hard to maintain this, that, and the other. And then our men are like, oh no, I don't want no woman with that nappy hair or whatever. She better straighten it. They've been brainwashed. All they seeing in the rap videos and in all the TV shows and the movies and everything they're seeing, and the women around them are straight hair. It's a brainwashing, and light skin is better because that's all they're seeing. It's brainwashing, and it's brainwashing when it's affecting you and it's making you do what it wants, but you're not aware of it. That's what brainwashing is. And what you got to do is step back and look and see, and then you can see they are brainwashing us. So our women think that's beauty because that's what's put in front of them as beauty. Okay? This is not being put in front of them as beauty. That's not being put in front of them as beauty. Neither is that, neither is that, neither is that. Okay? That's not being put in front of them as beauty anymore. Back in the 70s when we had black pride and everything, it was. And that's another thing. It makes it easy. This woman was able to become the president or something of the NAACP. She's straight lily white. But all she had to do is throw some curly hair in and say she was black, and everybody, she was over the NAACP. It's a shame. You know, we got to get back to our natural selves. Okay? You know, it's like when you step back and look at this thing, you can see what the agenda is. The other thing about this, and I don't want to get off too much in the natural hair, but the other thing about the natural hair thing is the chemicals are bad for you, and you're sending all your money out of your, out of the black community, out of our nation into other nations' hands, But that's a whole nother thing. Like if we were just braiding hair and keeping our natural hair, and sisters just buy, shea butter or whatever natural stuff you put in your hair, and we could take that thing back into our control, and a lot of women say, well, hey, it's easier to maintain it this way, but look, you can't. That's the other, and it brings me right into the other point about why a lot of brothers aren't messing with sisters. A lot of sisters are in bad shape. They're overweight. Okay. And that's not healthy. And what contributes to them being overweight? Well, part of that is, low self-esteem from the men letting them down. From, like I said, that you can't ignore, 1 out of 2 black women have been molested or raped by the time they're 18. That's going to have an effect on how you see yourself and everything like that, your image, your self-image. Okay. But the other thing is when you have that, when you don't have your natural hair and everything like that, you can't sweat. You can't go to the gym and work out and do fitness and go swimming and do stuff to stay in good shape. You got to worry about taking care of that hair. You get sweaty too much and it's going to mess up your hair and all that stuff like that. So that was another big thing, is a lot of sisters, once they get 23, 24, 25, whatever, they get out of shape. Okay. And they're not as attractive. Okay. That's another big thing. But again, like I said, it's both sides, but the men have to lead and step up to the plate and let our sisters know, look, you're beautiful with your natural hair. Beyonce ain't the picture image. Beyonce damn near look like a white girl now, and now you got that Iggy, whatever her name is, from Australia, the white girl, they calling her, hey, she the best female rapper. And black women are getting mad, but y'all fueling it, because y'all get some black pride and wear your natural hair. It should be a badge of honor to go through the pain it takes to maintain your natural black hair and everything like that. I mean, and a lot of women say, hey, my natural hair, it takes a lot of work. Well, with the time you're saving, because it's less work. They say it's less work to, get a weave or do whatever. But that's not true. With the money you're spending to have that hairdo and the extra hours you're working to make that money to get that hairdo, you could save that money and not work as many hours and just maintain your hair yourself and be healthier. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so that's another reason why a lot of our brothers, they go after, the white girls. And let me tell you something else. These brothers who go after the white girls and they like women with that look like white girls and the media image they're getting, and they like that, and that's what they're looking for. I'm telling you, you should be happy, because that's not who you want to mess with. You should be thankful that it has weeded that out for you. Those are brothers you don't need to have anything to do with. And you're like, a lot of women are like, oh, well, that's dang near everybody. Yeah, like I said, majority of dudes are horrible relationship material. And I'm telling you that as a dude, I've hung with these dudes. I've worked around brothers and I've watched them cheat. I watched them run around and do wicked stuff. You know what I'm saying? You got to get a brother who's in this word and who got understanding with it, and not these soft, gay, misled dudes up in these Christian churches. It's, and with that in mind, and I'm gonna do other videos on what women need to look for, the qualities a woman needs to look for in a man. I've done some videos in the past, but I'll do some new ones. But you need to, but a good starting point of what you need to be looking for, a good starting point is, those brothers chasing after those white girls, they're turncoats. They didn't turn their back on their race. You need to go with these soldiers who, like me, I'm gonna just tell you straight up, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. You need to, if you a sister, you need to realize that you are the tribe of Israel and find you a Hebrew Israelite brother, because otherwise, you really can't hold me accountable for what the outcome is. I kind of would want to say, hey, get into the Black conscious movement, but even that they're not operating by any standards. The brothers with this, we like Hebrew Israelite brothers, we operating by a standard, that Bible and what it says about women and who they need to be. We get our lust under control because it says that's a big thing with us as men, to get that under control. These other movements, oh yeah, the black woman is God, and they running through plenty of gods because they having sex and they ain't got that lust under control, So yeah, I'm gonna straight up say, look, get into the Hebrew Israelite movement, study that Bible, figure out who you are. The Bible talks about all this stuff, okay? And a lot of sisters and brothers have a bad taste in their mouth about the Bible because of these wicked churches. They've misled and they really turn a lot of people off to the truth and what's in there. But these churches only teach 5% max of what's in that Bible. So you don't know half the stuff that's in there. Okay? But I mean, that's what you got to do. But yeah, these brothers who are running after white women, let them run, and thank God they have, because now I mean, majority picking out a good man, and for a man picking out a good woman, when you find out what you need to be looking for, is very, very simple. And a lot of people, what misleads them is what a lot of people what throws them off when they see how simple it is, and hey, you need to be looking for this, that, and the other. And that's how the Bible lays it out in black and white, real simple. If they have this, lays it all out. And what happens, what throws a lot of people off, they go out there and they're like, well, dang, every single brother that has come up to me does not match this criteria. That's everybody I know, So does that mean every dude that I know is a bad relationship material? Yeah. Majority of dudes. That's why so many relationships are bad. That's why, for the brothers, a lot of brothers, oh, I'm not messing with black women, because yeah, majority of women are bad relationship material. Same thing with the brothers. Majority of the brothers is bad relationship material. And I'll say this, if you're a good guy, and if you're a man who's lined up with the scriptures, and you meet a sister who's bad news, it still ain't gonna work out. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. But if both y'all, if you meet a brother who, you know, I don't want to say that. I don't want to go and say, hey, you know, well, if he meets half the standards, go ahead and go with him, and maybe you could win him over. I'm not gonna do that because it's gonna be a disaster still. Make sure he's in the truth. Make sure you're in the truth, or else it's just gonna be a train wreck. Study my videos I'm gonna be doing about how to meet the right person, and you'll be fine. And it's not complicated stuff. Society makes it complicated. It's very simple, but you have to discern and judge people. Society's telling you, oh, do what your heart says. The Bible says, keep your heart out of it. Use your eyes and ears and everything to discern, and then let your heart come in when you know it's the right deal. The world's telling you something totally backwards. That's why so many people are destroyed out here. But yeah, that's, I kind of got a little off topic, but that's why, a lot of men go with the white women, because they're not real warriors. They're not willing to fight. They horny as heck, and they just want to get into something, and they don't want to take the time they don't see the benefits in just taking the time to finding a sister and that they can relate with and all that stuff, and doing the research and getting their minds right and all that stuff like that. So you should be happy that those dudes do go, but, study some of these videos, and so you can see and spot a good man when he comes along. You know what I'm saying? Because you could, I'll tell you this, and women will agree with me on this also. A lot of good men will see a woman who's bad news. They'll spot her come a mile away, and that woman who is bad news will never even be aware that guy was even anywhere exists, because the dude can spot a good man can spot a woman who's bad news a mile away. Okay. And the same thing with a woman who's good relationship material. She can spot a bad dude a mile away. A woman who's educated in this word, she can spot a bad dude from a mile away, and that dude will never even know she was there. Okay. So, and that's a big one. But anyway, watch some of my other videos on what you need to be looking for in a man, and for a woman, what you need to, men, what you need to be looking for in a woman, and everything like that, so you're not making these mistakes and just constantly hurting yourself in these relationships with bad people who are not good relationship material. I mean, people are just blindly feeling around out there because there's nothing of any substance out there for anybody to go by. The media and the music and all that stuff is telling you stuff that's totally backwards and totally opposite. But anyway, check out some other videos, share this video, click on the like button if you like it. If you got questions, give me some, just write it in the comments. If you liked it, put a comment there. And, if you want me to do some other videos on what you want to know about, just hit me up. I'll do them, and answer your question. I'll be thorough with it. But anyway, my name is Mike. You're watching Spiritual Combat, and have a nice day.